Hi folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know I talked a lot about trout this year. Now it's not really the trout time. The water's warmer and my focus has gone to other things. But the fact that we have such good trout fishing here is amazing. And it brings up a question. I was reading an article in a newspaper from the town that I grew up in, way down in southwestern New York. And it talked about the fact that there's no native trout left in the Northeast. So what does that mean? Well, basically, when we go trout fishing, there's three types of trout that we could catch in most of our streams. There's rainbow trout, there's brown trout, and there's brook trout. So, what does all this mean that there's no native trout living anymore? Well, first of all, brook trout, they are native, and they were native to our area, but they're not a trout. They're a char. It's a different species of fish. It looks like a trout, but it isn't really a trout. And so that rules out brook trout. Well, the other two trout that we fish for are rainbow trout, and they're called that because they have almost like a rainbow going down the side of them. It's a big, it could be either dark red or pink or faded or whatever, but it's that stripe. And they're called rainbow trout. And they originated in the West, not here. They were brought here in the 1800s, and they were stocked in some of our streams. But they're a wonderful fish, as we know. But there's two kinds of rainbow trout. There's the rainbow trout that once you put them someplace, they stay there. That's their home. Then there's another rainbow trout. Look almost the same. They're almost identical. And yet their instinct is, we got to leave home. The grass is greener in other areas, and so they will always try to leave and go to a river or someplace. And that's what we call steelhead. They're really the very same fish. So that's really interesting. However, in 1980s, scientists were studying this fish, and they found out that it actually is genetically much closer to salmon. It's kind of not a trout. It's kind of like a salmon wannabe. And then the third species is brown trout. And they didn't come from here either. In the 1800s, they were brought here first from Germany and then later from Scotland. And those two versions were very similar, but they are different. And so sometimes you'll see brown trout with bright red or bright orange spots on their body. They look absolutely beautiful. And they originated really from Germany. And then the Scottish trout are different. They're for lack of another word, they're duller in color. They don't have the orange or red spots. But brown trout can withstand much warmer water than brook trout. And so they really can take to our streams better. They can live better. They don't require as much oxygen as brook trout do. And so the fishing for brown trout can last in our streams longer in the year. The brook trout have to be either in little brooks that are fed naturally and they're cooler, or in the deeper lakes. And then rainbow trout. Rainbow trout, because they're kind of salmon-like, they have a different characteristic. They are fierce and they are acrobatic. And when you hook them, they'll fly into the air, and they're a lot of fun. So those are the trout that we have, and I think it's interesting to talk about that because really, if you look at it, there's only one true trout, and that's the brown trout. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.